Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and this is my vlog where I highlight my creative journey so that way I can perhaps inspire you, or if nothing else, show you the obstacles that I'm facing and give you the tactics that I'm using to overcome those obstacles, right? So, it's things that I'm kind of applying that I've gained in terms of my tool set from the past, as well as new things that I'm having to kind of come up with in those certain instances, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, in terms of why I do the vlog. Now, before I dive in, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. That way you get all the various episodes and lessons that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and also truly thank you if you already were. It means a lot to me. All right, so let's get into it. Last week, news-wise, heavy week. I won't really discuss all those things. I think there are far better people that can sort of dissect that stuff. So I'm going to focus more on the creative and the mental. So starting with the creative, I had a wonderful table read last Thursday for my friend Courtney Stewart's script. Now, we're doing this script. It's a short film that we're ultimately doing, but it's proof of concept for a competition, right? So it's supposed to be a self-contained 4.5-minute piece that we then submit, and if we win, then the idea would be that it could potentially be made into a feature, right? So it has to stand alone as a short film, but also theoretically work as a longer feature. And her idea is, in my opinion, really smart. I really appreciate it. And so, the script's been through a number of revisions at this point. I've helped and sat in on those meetings. So I gave it a nudge, but ultimately it's based on Courtney's direction. There's really been Courtney, myself, and her friend Danielle who have been instrumental, kind of planning this. And Danielle's going to be the director and so forth. And, this was the first time now we get to quite literally put a face to the character, right? So these are people that we want to play the characters. Some may, if they choose not to participate, then they might get swapped out. But nonetheless, it was good to kind of start to see it in action. Table read, we did it over Zoom, but the whole idea of a table read is to hear the words, right? Because when you're writing, you can even say the things out loud to yourself, when you read the script and the character dialogue, but it doesn't have the same oomph as when you finally get to see someone read it that's different than you, right? Just multiple people, even if they're not necessarily, like in our case, the people that would be playing them, even just having different voices and different people doing those characters gives it a different feel and gives you the ability to then be like, okay, what's working, what's dragging, and so forth, and you can adjust in terms of the rewrite. Overall, in my opinion, I thought the script worked well. Everyone was kind of familiarizing a little bit, so there was a couple of awkward moments here and there, but for the most part, I thought it worked really well. What's interesting, I talked to Courtney afterwards, and this was like the next day, and I said, how are you feeling about it? And, she had some trepidation. And I think what's interesting to me, something that I've realized about myself, like I achieve most when I get out of my comfort zone. And she is now outside of her comfort zone. And this idea of getting outside of a comfort zone and really creating growth and achieving good stuff, I don't think that's special to me. I don't think that's special to Courtney. This applies to all of us, you, me, and so forth. And certainly other people have talked about this notion, so it's not like I'm the first one to really discuss this, but in that moment, it really solidified it for me that yeah, this is true. But when we go back and we question the merits of like, is this good, is it not? That's, as Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art would say, that's resistance talking. It's far too easy not to do something than it is to obviously do something. And so, Courtney is an actress and a wonderful producer, but in terms of writing, I think she's a great storyteller, but, her writing something and then now really stepping into it as like, this is my story, I'm going to act in it and so forth, and as well as produce it, it's a new level for her. And it's a big leap. But I think at the same time, like, be bold and get out of your comfort zone. But at the same time, I always keep reminding her, all we got to do is make a short film, 4.5 minutes and things like that. So let's just have fun with it, right? If none of this goes anywhere, at least we exercised the muscle and created and got together and created something fun, right? That's the beauty of it to me. Now, don't worry when I say got together. At the end of the day, this is primarily going to take place over Zoom and so forth. And when we do shoot stuff, it's going to be extremely limited crew, mask on, that type of stuff. But that to me is exciting. It's like it. I kind of gave a prelude at the beginning, and to me, like, I'm one that wants to tell meaningful stories, and I love comedy and satire as well, and I think they have their place as well. I don't discredit those by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just not good at writing those necessarily or making them. But the stuff I gravitate towards is a little bit of, let's say heady, right? And so this has really, really deep notions and things like that. And so I really believe in it. And I don't think art is selfish in this way, And even with all the stuff going on in the world, I think this gets at something that deserves to be told, in the way that Courtney desires it to be. Her core message, I think, is really wonderful. And so to fictionalize that message through her storytelling, I don't think it's selfish at all. I think it actually helps and raises some questions, that people should be asking. I'm being, I understand I'm being vague about it because I don't want to give away the thing. That's ultimately, I want people to see Courtney's work. But that to me is the exciting part, So I'm excited. I think art will always have its place, and I think once we get rid of art in general, then I think culture and society deteriorates. I really do. So the exciting part is we're moving forward. October 1st, we're going to do a couple of test shoots. So I'm looking forward to that. Things are in motion. We do have, as of now, a late planned, like, primary film date, but the good news is we can get a lot of the stuff done beforehand in terms of graphics and music selections, and we can kind of do a rough edit based on just even the Zoom call, just for timing, things like that. So we can move the ball forward because, like, ultimately we're going to be coming tight on the deadline of when we're supposed to submit. But again, as long as you keep things moving, of other stuff that you can be doing, then I think we will meet this deadline. And you know what? Ultimately, listen, I can't speak for Courtney. I don't know if she'll be ultimately disappointed if we don't make the deadline. But again, I view it as like, it got us off our asses, and we will have this asset, and we can still do something with it, right? So that to me is the exciting part. For me, I've been revising what I call my rough draft, so I can turn it into my first draft of my feature script. This would theoretically be the second film that I shoot and direct myself. It's called In Search of Sunrise, and it's interesting. So what I do is I work with two screens, and I basically retype the script because it gets me in that headspace and so forth. And so overall, I'm halfway done in terms of the original rough draft. Meaning I'm 60 pages in, but in terms of the rewrite, I'm only about like 49 pages in. So I've cut essentially 11 pages. Not that wasn't necessarily my goal, but I am getting rid of stuff that is redundant and so forth. So I say it kind of every week in some sense, but my aim is to be done. And it's interesting, like the reason why it's taken so slow in some sense. If you're wondering of like, wait, didn't this guy say last week that he was going to aim to finish the script? And it's like, one, ideas pop up, right? And so you're kind of, even though you have a, let's call it template to go off of, there's still new ideas that come in and that you're playing with. And secondly, like just the act of retyping something from scratch, it takes time. You would think like, if you're just copying, pasting, and revising, that's one thing. But when you're literally retyping, it does add up. Now, again, the argument could be made of like, well, it might be faster to just read it and revise. And, for some people that works. Listen, I don't knock it, right? The beauty to me is there's no one single way to do something, and there's not necessarily a time crunch for me. And so by literally retyping everything, it gets me back into that headspace. It makes me consider every word, every line of dialogue, every action. And, it's like, wait, why did I write that before? You know what? Here's a great opportunity to add this action, enhance the tension, and so forth, right? So that's kind of how I view it and why I do it the way that I do it. So in terms of creativity, that's kind of what has been happening with me. One of the things that I now, as I can really truly call myself a writer, I make it a point to write at least a little bit a day. And the bigger point, I try to, per this Stephen King, those who don't read can't write. I try to read every single day. In fact, I do read every single day. I make it a very specific point to always make sure I read. So I've been doing that as well in tandem with it, and that has just that habit of both writing and reading every single day has fueled my writing. So in that sense, it has been good. The other thing, if you're watching on video, then you can perhaps tell the setup is a little bit different. Because I've realized I'm essentially in my apartment, not quite literally all the time, but most of the time, because of this pandemic, I figured if I'm going to be here, I might as well make it look a little bit different so it feels newer to me, give it a little bit of new energy. I go to this quote by Jay Shetty that location has energy and time has memory. And so, just kind of thinking about that, I had that with my setup, but I wanted something a little bit new, and also in doing so to be a little bit more cognizant of, okay, give each location a different sense of energy. So I have like, okay, here's my work/writing space, here's my reading space, here's my eating space, here's kind of my journaling space and just kind of relaxing space, here's my space to watch TV, here's my sleeping space, all that, right? And as he talks about, you don't need a big house to be able to do this. As one of the things that Jay Shetty talks about, like him and his wife, when they were starting off, they had a small like 400 or something like that square foot apartment in New York, and they made every corner something different. So there's ways to get creative. It's like creativity in general. Restrictions can force you to come up with new things. So I think, in that sense, this isn't the final setup. I've been kind of toying with things and whatever else. So, it gives me something physically to be creative within, right? So we'll see. But I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that. Also, the other thing, I just as things kind of ramp up towards the election, and things ramp up in terms of other stuff that I've got going on, I might not post an episode every single day. I might kind of take it back a little bit, but we'll see. Just want to kind of give that heads up. So this week, the week of September 28th, I will have an episode every single day, and then from that point forward, we'll see. Part of it just depends how I feel. So just want to kind of be upfront. Obviously, I always want to give you as much value as I can, but at the same time, I don't overpressure myself to kind of deliver all that, right? At the end of the day, in order for me to give my best, I have to be at my best. So, that's how I kind of look at it. And also, there's I'm coming up to almost 500, episodes on my YouTube channel that you can check out. So if nothing else, there's plenty of stuff to browse through in terms of the archives that are still relevant to today. So, I encourage you to do that if you're really missing out on an episode. And also, if there's anything specific that you would like me to talk about, by all means, ask it in the comment section or hit me up on social media at Svitek. So that way, the stuff that I do put out in the coming weeks, I can really tailor make for you. And speaking of that, one of the reasons that I'm also might be, it's not definitive, might be taking a step back just a little bit, is simply because I have also offered to coach anyone, including yourself, if you want. All you have to do is go to my website and click the Let's Connect tab, and then essentially request for a session with me. Now, I can coach you. We can talk about anything. If you want just a friend to chat with, by all means, like someone just to listen to, then we can do that. And the way it works is I'll do 15-minute sessions, capping it at 2 hours per week, so about 8 people per week on a first come first served basis. So get your email in now. The first week last week was the first week that I did this, and it was a lot of fun getting to know you guys and kind of seeing what's out there. And what you're kind of facing both creatively and personally. So I hope to those that I interacted with, I hope I helped. And so it's free in terms of you paying me, but I like to say, the payment is really kind of donating to a charity that's your favorite. Now, it has to be one that I approve, so I can get behind it as well. But the good news is, all the ones that I did last week, I was like, yeah, of course, that's a great charity. Go ahead. And, you can donate $1, $5, whatever you can, right? Even if it's a small amount, $1, $5, $10. Like, I'm not. Whatever you feel is right that you can give. That's all I ask. So I don't know the amount that people donated last week. I just know the charities that they did say that they would. It's almost like an honor system of like, go ahead. If that's something that you're interested in, I'll leave the link down below so you can click it, or just go to my website, hit the Let's Connect, and just type in your stuff there, and let's connect. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to tune in. I hope this has been beneficial. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you next time.